Today I'm going to model for you a 3-digit by 3-digit subtraction question using both Base-10 blocks and Pictorially. The question that I'm going to solve is 477 minus 289. So the first thing that I need to do is create an estimate of what the difference will be. The reason for doing this is so when I find my difference, if it is relatively close to the estimate, chances are my difference is correct because I used friendly numbers to make my estimate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round both my minuend and my subtrahend up to the nearest 100. So I'm going to round 477 up to 500 and 289 up to 300. And I know that 500 minus 300 is 200. So when I get my difference when I've solved the problem, I will remember to compare back to it. I know, however, that my difference will be less than 200 because I rounded both the minuend and the subtrahend up to the nearest 100. So the question of 477 minus 289 tells us that in order to get the difference, we need to subtract 289 from 477. So I've started by representing 477 using Base-10 blocks and again drawing it pictorially. So the first place we need to start is by looking at our hundreds place. When we look at the question, we know that we need to subtract 200s from 400s. And when we look at our Base-10 blocks, we know that we have 400s. So we can easily subtract 200s from the 400s without making any trades. So we subtract 100, 200, and we can do the same thing with our pictorial image by simply crossing out 200s with a different color pen. Now the next place that we need to go is the tens place. We see that the question asks us to subtract 8 tens from 7 tens, and we know that 8 tens is more than 7 tens. And we can look at our blocks to remind us of this. So in order to make this subtraction possible, we need to make a trade. And in order to get more tens, we need to trade 100 to get 10 tens. So now that the subtraction is possible, we will subtract 8 tens. And now we can represent the trade by putting an arrow from the 100 over to the tens to show that we've traded it. And now we will just draw 10 more. And now we can show the subtraction by again crossing out with the same color pen. So we had to subtract 8, so we'll cross out 8. Now the next step that we need to do is look at the ones place. We can see that we need to subtract 9 ones from 7 ones, and we know that we do not have enough ones to make the subtraction possible. So in order to make the subtraction possible, we need to trade 1 10 for 10 ones. So now we're able to do the subtraction without any problems. So we'll subtract 9 ones. Now we can represent this trade again by drawing from the 10 that we're going to trade, drawing an arrow over to the ones, and now we can draw 10 ones. And again, we can show how many ones were subtracted by simply crossing them out with the red pen. So we needed to subtract 9 ones, so we'll cross out 9 of the x's. 9. Now in order to find our difference, what we have to do is count up the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. So we have 100s, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tens, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ones. So we now know that our difference will be 188. Which is also represented pictorially 477 minus 289 symbolically. And again, you have to start with an estimate. So again, I made the estimate of 200 by taking 500 minus 300 to equal a difference of 200. So now the strategy that I'm going to use is called think addition. So for think addition, what you do is you take your minuend plus a number will give me a sum that was originally my subtrahend. So the first step is to think in nice friendly numbers. So the first step that I like to do is go 289 plus 100 equals 389. So now I know that the next step is to add 1 so that I can get to a nice friendly number of 390. And now I know that 390 is only 10 away from 400, so I know that 390 plus 10 equals 400. And now I know I'm only 77 away from 477. So now if I add 77 to 400, I will get 477. Now the next step is to take all of the add-ins that you put in the blank and add them all together. So I start by adding 100 plus 77 because I know I can get a nice number of 177. Then I will add 177 plus 10 because that gives me 187, and that's easy to do in my head. And then now all that's left is 1, so 187 plus 1 will equal 188. Now that I've added all of the add-ins that I put in together, I have a sum of 188. And now if I flip my question back to the subtraction question, I have 477 minus 289 equals 188.